Hopefully you've seen our little instructions here that if you had somebody you'd like to hold in the light this morning, that you could still a chance to come stand here and do that for someone. Certainly a time in our life where that would feel good, right? To be able to hold people in the light. And as you can see, our service is a little different this morning. We gave the band the day off. And how many of you have ever been to our 9 o'clock service before COVID? Yeah. So we're kind of modeling that service, this service, after that. Just take it down a notch, bring in a little bit more peace and quiet. So thank you for being willing to go along with us today as we experience this together. For those of you who are watching online, another point of view today than what you're used to with Unity in Naperville. But you found us. I'm Kitty Benson. I'm the minister here at Unity, and our time together this morning is just a constant opportunity every Sunday to remind ourselves of the truth of who we are as spiritual beings having this human experience. So will you join me in an opening prayer, please? Loving Spirit, we're so grateful to have this time of remembering that there is more than what meets the eye, that in the invisible realm of spirit, we are one, that presence of oneness is here and now. And in this presence, we know truth and love and beauty and wisdom. We give thanks for this opportunity to turn our hearts and minds toward that truth of who we are, knowing there is nothing we need create. Now we simply allow. And so we do. Amen. One thing we speak every week that reminds us of the truth of who we are is what we call our invocation. So the words are up here on the screen. Would you say them with me together, please? Divine, I'm sorry, I'm on all the way past this into the offering now. Keep your money. Let's just stay focused. Let's try it again. Together. There's only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. The all-loving goodness of God. Thank you. And I'd like you to just enjoy this music video from Karen Drucker as we set our stage this morning.
I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power, over the mountains. I send my power, over the sea. I send my power, into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send peace over the mountains. I send peace over the sea. I send peace into the heavens, it returns to me. I send my power, over over the mountains. I send my power, over the sea. I send my power, into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me, and it returns to me, and it returns to me. It returns to me. It returns to me.
Though some of you may have already done this when you were lighting candles, I'm going over to the table to light 2 candles. One for all the families who were affected by the shooting in Highland Park last week. And the other is for the shooter, Bobby Cremo. I'm going to ask you to send your light and energy, not only into the candles that we light, but to all their hearts as we do that. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Whoops, let's light my finger on fire. Thank you. So, sadly, we did not get through another week without the news telling us that more people had been killed. And I'm sure I'm not alone when something like this happens, where we just keep asking why? What is going on in the hearts and minds of those who take a gun and do what they do? So me, being who I am, I had to go looking for an answer. And I did a little search on the internet to find out about maybe what might be behind or in the consciousness. I knew that was going to happen. Am I still on? Sorry, everybody. Okay, let's take a breath. Don't want to fall off again. I went on the internet to do a little search on what might be in their consciousness, and NPR.org had an article about that very thing for this actual shooting on July 4th. I put a link to it on my Facebook page, so if you're interested in reading more about it, you can go there. If you're not my friend, then please be my friend. And the way that they described this person, turns out he's not alone, but oftentimes a mass shooter's profile has this connection to some dark online community, and their focus is basically to glorify violence. They aren't really focused on anything specific as far as an ideology or anything like that. As a matter of fact, they don't really have any, it's kind of a nihilistic point of view where they look at life as meaningless. They don't hold any law or uphold any law in their mind. They have no moral principle, no religious belief system. They're just there to devote themselves to the ideal of violence. As a matter of fact, in this article, it's written by Alex Newhouse. He's the deputy director of the Center on Terrorism, Extremism, and Counterterrorism at the Middlebury Institute of International Studies. That's quite a title. And Alex said that a lot of these communities, these online communities, are designed to spin out mass shooters over time, over and over and over. The idea is that everyone within these communities sort of lose track of what is real versus what's fake. They start fantasizing about violence, fetishizing violence as an end-all, be-all of the essence of existing. Violence is the essence of existing. What might we in Unity say the essence of existing is? Any thoughts? Love, peace, creativity, connection. Didn't hear that one. Community. Say it again, Jack. Connection with the divine. Yeah. Very different, right? A very different world going on for them, where it's their reason for being is violence. And it's interesting how they lose touch with reality. Their fantasy becomes reality, and then we all get to experience it with them. But that point of view didn't happen when they were born. Things happened in their lives that led them to that point. And to be able to get into that for each shooter, we're not going to be able to do today. I'm not even really qualified to do that. So what I'm hoping to do today with you is look at conflict one-on-one, which we can all relate to. Doesn't matter how we were raised, we learn how to be in conflict. No matter what kind of family we're raised in, oftentimes that conflict is something that starts between brother and sister or parent and child, where they're not behaving the way we want them to behave, they're taking something from us, or they're hurting our feelings. And with that pain, we go out into the world and we have interactions with co-workers, bosses, where we realize, hey, you do things differently than I do, and I don't like it. Your process is different than mine. You're not making way for me to be who I am, and conflict arises. Maybe like literally or just internally. You can probably relate more to that you keep it within yourself about them. Then we get on the faceless social media outlets. We're even more separated from one another, but still able to decide, I don't like you, you're doing it wrong, you're not like me, stop taking my good from me, don't think that you can get in my way. We start calling them names, basically. Sometimes we do it in writing, sometimes we just hold it in our heart in a faceless way. And all the while, our ego's need is to try and convert others to be like us so that we get approval, we feel secure in who we are. And yet, even though it feels like the conflict is with others, our ability to be in conflict with others didn't start there. It started within ourselves. And if we were not brought up in an environment of a loving presence, an assuring presence that said, I'm okay just as I am, then it's often possible that we grow up with the self-image of unworthiness. That's where conflict starts, within ourselves. We're fighting with ourselves about who we are, what is right and what is wrong. And since we're not able to reconcile that within ourselves, then we have to take that energy out into the world, and it's no wonder that we're afraid to be ourselves with other people because we're afraid to be ourselves with our own self. Somewhere along the line, we were told, you're not okay, and we believed it. So now we're out here trying to become like other people. That never works, never feels fulfilling, just more discomfort, starts to rub us the wrong way. And it turns out that it becomes almost impossible to have an authentic interaction or relationship with people. The ones we know, and especially those that we're just barely acquainted with, or strangers that we run into in our car, in the grocery line. Then we increase this difficulty of communication by adding the whole digital communication style into the mix. So that most often when we go outside the house, our communication style is either by text, through email, getting on Facebook, and has anybody here entered into virtual reality yet? Where you present an avatar of yourself? So we have basically become invisible to one another. Can you see how that happens? We're not face-to-face any longer. We're rarely on the phone. I mean, how many of you get a phone call that you don't answer because you don't recognize the number? Or you do recognize the number because you're just not in the mood to have that conversation right now. But with all this desensitization, it becomes much easier to be rude online or hurtful or insensitive to what other people might be feeling when we use certain words. At the same time, we are easily hurt because we can't interpret what their words are saying in writing. Have you ever gotten feedback like that where you sent out some kind of communication in writing and they responded badly because they misinterpreted it? Anybody? Anybody? Me? I'll just say me in a big way. Yeah. So since that's the basic mode of communication these days, is it any wonder that at some point the need to be seen becomes extreme and violent? Maybe it starts in a fantasy land where you can get your anger out, your frustration out, but at some point you live there and you don't understand what real versus fantasy is, and it just starts to live itself out in this physical world. So I'm bringing you back today to something that I started to talk about last week, just a tiny little bit. Do you remember me mentioning the word FAITHKEEPER? Something that comes out of the Native American tradition. Let me just show you an abbreviated description from Oren Lyons up here. He said that under extreme conditions, if every single tribe member stumbles into fear or doubt, anxiety, worry, and pain, the FAITHKEEPER maintains peace and calm, spiritual enlightenment and understanding. The FAITHKEEPER is looked upon as the mainstay to the I Am presence of God, Great Spirit, or Creator. I'm asking you to be a FAITHKEEPER. We're going to talk about this for the next 3 weeks, and today's focus is about being a FAITHKEEPER for divine love, as divine love, being the mainstay of divine love, an expression of the presence. And once again, we can't be that for others until we first understand how to be it for ourselves. We have to understand it's such a fine line when you're trying to understand whose voice you're listening to in your head. But more and more, I'm asking you to just learn the difference between ego and spirit, because there's both of you living in this one body. And it's regularly doing a self-assessment to help us realize who's talking, where the motivation is coming from, why is it hard for me to be at peace in this relationship. Starting just with, asking ourselves, who am I? Who am I? Now, your ego's going to respond with, gosh, well, I'm a woman, I'm an aunt, I'm a minister. You might have a different occupation. You might have different family roles. And from that outer expression of yourself, then just ask yourself, what do I need? What do I need? Well, I need money to live, I need food, I need housing, I need clothes to wear, I'd like to be able to interact with people on the internet or watch Netflix, all these physical needs that our ego thinks it needs in order to be happy. So the next question is, why do I need it? Well, I think if we go right down deep to what I need, it would be more about I need to be accepted. I need to be loved. I need to feel safe. But the ego will never admit that to itself because that's weak, vulnerable. Why do we need it? Because the ego constantly needs to feel safe and provided for and make sure that everyone loves them. And where do we find that? Well, the ego thinks out there somewhere. My friends are going to provide that. My employer, my government, my social media, all going to make me feel good about myself until they don't. Until suddenly they're not there for us. And the problem is, most of the time, they're busy seeking it for themselves. So when everybody's busy pulling what they need towards them, that's just a tug of war, right? There's not going to be an opportunity for us to get the love that we're seeking until we learn how to turn within and find the love that's already waiting for us, already within us. It is our true self, our higher self, spirit, source, creator, God, Christ nature, whatever you want to call it, loves you deeply. The ego needs to know that. You are loved and accepted just as you are, ego. And we talk about God in a couple of ways. One is omnipresence. Big word, hard to wrap your mind around, but it's basically all that is. The substance, the energy, the spirit that stands underneath everything. What if you saw that omnipresence as love, as a presence of love that has a consciousness? And when that consciousness looks at you, and it always is looking at you and looking through you and looking as you, it is looking with total and complete acceptance for who you are. Total and complete allowance for you to be whatever your heart desires. When you think of God as omnipotence, one power, the all power, we might think of weapons as power, but in truth, all power, all human power comes back to a single power of good that we just misuse. And that omnipotence is also characterized by love. It's a force that's working right now in our lives. The force of love is working right now in this universe, and its method of operation is to create good, to provide good, to organize good between us, to bring harmony to everything in our lives. That's happening right now. Most of the time we're unaware. We have to start by turning within and looking at that omnipotence, omnipresence of love that wants to do good for us, that knows good for us, and then we can become it in the world. There are no accidents, I don't think, in spirit. I hadn't watched EWTN for, I'd say, a good year or two. I used to watch it every Saturday night. It's a Catholic channel, and they always show movies of the saints on Saturday night. Well, I wasn't raised Catholic, so I was curious to learn about these saints, and there have been some really good movies, but they repeat a lot, and so I'd seen most of them. Well, it turns out there was a new one on last night about a woman named Chiara Lubick. She was Italian, and the story of her life that they showed in the movie was happening during World War II, when her town was being bombed regularly. And she was probably in her early 20s. Her heart was constantly aching for what was happening to the children of the city and, the vulnerable. And at one point, she was walking down the street in the midst of rubble when soldiers ran by chasing a woman who was screaming, and they shot her right in front of her. And you could just tell on her face, this was a moment of complete hopelessness. And there in the middle of the rubble was probably a statue of the Virgin Mary. And she looked at that, and we didn't hear it, but she heard a voice that she identified as God. And that voice said, "Devote your life to me. Devote your life to me." Now, interestingly enough, she knew that did not mean to become a nun, which was very typical for young women at that age in the Catholic Church. If that's the call they got, go be a nun. She knew that was not her call. She had the courage to share this with a priest who kind of just let her talk. And before she left, she had felt like this was a good thing. And she saw a book of the Gospels laying there and asked if she could take it. And he said, "Well, you won't have a priest to interpret it for you. I really shouldn't." But he let her take it. And that began to influence her life as she started to study the teachings of Jesus for herself. It began to have an effect on her heart. And she had 5 or 6 other friends her age, girlfriends. And they would get together, still young women wanting to get together. Most common place they would get together is in a bomb shelter. And then they would start to get together outside, go out into the mountains where it was safe to breathe the fresh air. And then finally, she would just start reading from her little Gospels every once in a while. Their hearts all began to change. They all had a desire to serve God, to devote their life to God. And they began to help people in their town, finding little bits of food and giving away what they had. They all ended up living together. And at some point, she knocked on a bunch of doors in the area and asked them to get together with her that evening. And there was probably 30 people that showed up in a hallway somewhere. And here's what she said. "Once I saw a man in the hospital with a cast on his right arm. So he had to eat with his left. He had to brush his teeth with his left. He had to learn to do everything with his left, which was very tiring. But as he did this, his left arm got more sturdy. It became a big, strong arm." And she turned to her girlfriends and she said, "We thought that we could be arms for one another. Not just the girls, but everybody in the town, that we could be arms for one another. Those with more possibilities should give to those with the most need. And that way, we'll all get sturdier and be happier. Because human beings are totally happy only when the real motor of their lives is turned on. Love. Let's turn it on," she said. "And we'll discover that the one next to me, Cindy, was created as a gift for me, and I for the one next to me over here." And then she looked at the crowd and she said, "Let's look at one another. Look at each other. Look at the one near you." Let's do that now. Just look at each other, make eye contact with a human being, see them, feel grateful for them. She said, "Let's light up love." And this Focolare movement grew and expanded, finally with the church's permission and approval, and she ended up representing the group with all kinds of religions because that was her goal. It wasn't about making everyone good Catholics. It was about oneness. As the girls first agreed that this would be what they would do together, they said, "Whatever happens, we'll always be united as one forever. Our lives for the unity of the world." That's what they were living for, the unity of the world. Talk about a big picture. For universal brotherhood, sisterhood, to be as one. And not only us, but all the world, every people, every language, every religion. Chiara, Chiara, Lubich, Lubich. And the Focolare movement is Focolare, in case you don't speak Italian. Just a beautiful example of what the heart wants to do, but requires agreement from us. a desire, a willingness to turn our attention from one thing to the other. So I'm asking you to be that faith keeper for divine love today. And it's an opportunity for us that every time we get into conflict, we do our work. I've been taught many different ways to do this work. And one of the ones that comes to mind is, I think this came out of the book, the letter I of the Storm by Gary Simmons, where the questions are, did I play a part in this conflict? Did I come home in a bad mood and kind of set the energy on fire myself that I need to own? Or if that's not it, up here on the screen, do I have some missing information for this person who wants to argue with you? Maybe they think I've done something or something went wrong when it really didn't because I can explain this. I'm sure you've been in that case. And if neither one of those apply to this particular conflict, then maybe I can just be a presence that says, how can I support you? What do you need from me? And then just listen and offer to be that presence. We've also talked about using heart math. So when you're in conflict with someone and you just aren't understanding, you're not tracking what's going on and how it got there, try your heart math process, which is basically shifting your attention away from what's happening into your heart. Let's take a breath through our heart. And then think of someone that we love. Maybe not this person that's right in front of us, but someone else. Or some beautiful place in nature that makes our heart open, makes our energy rise into the frequency of appreciation. And when we feel ourselves getting there, we ask our heart sincerely, what is needed from me in this? And then listen to what your heart says. Love will do the work if you'll engage with love. And another thing that we want to make sure to stop doing is perpetuating the story about the conflict. I know it's really hard when someone hurts your feelings or something really difficult happens to you at someone else's hand, for you to deal with it internally with spirit. It's much easier to tell everyone else about it. Can you relate? Why do you suppose we do that? Why do we need to tell others about what someone did to us? Or what you're mad about, Don?
Let them be the jury and the judge.
Yeah, so we're going to get somebody on our side, be the jury and the judge. Why else do we want to tell somebody else? Empathy. We want people to feel for us, to feel the pain that we're going through. So how about recognizing that no matter how much empathy you get from someone, you are now probably feeling worse, because you're focused on that negative energy. Maybe you're even getting more angry talking about it. And last week, we talked about our power of dominion. You remember that power? Our power of a dominion is our ability to choose our thoughts and our words before they take action. And so when we find ourselves about to tell a story that isn't going to help in any way except make it worse, choose again to focus on what you do want. What is that situation to you? Don't use the law against yourself. Jesus was just so blatant about this. There was a story in the book of John where there was disciples around him that they were talking, and he decided to take a walk, and he asked Peter to join him. And as they're walking, Peter looks over his shoulder and he sees John coming up from behind. It's like, I'm sure he thought, hey, wait, this is supposed to be a little private gathering here. What's he coming in, getting involved? And so he said, Lord, what about him? And Jesus said to him, if it's my will that he remain until I come, what is that to you? What is that to you? Follow me. That's all you need to focus on. So, we've got this brilliant idea. You hear this Sunday message, you're inspired to go out and be a loving presence, and, somebody does something that kind of pushes a button, and it's your chance to go, okay, breathe, go to my heart, think about somebody I love. What should I do in this situation? Yeah, okay, I can do that. But what about them? They shouldn't have done that. They should have known better. Who do they think they are? Don't they have any respect for me? What is that to you, says your higher self. Follow me, says your higher self. This is how we are a faith keeper for love. What is that to you? Eric Butterworth describes responsibility as responding to Spirit's ability. I have a responsibility in every conflict to respond to Spirit's ability in this. I don't have to make love. I don't have to create it. It's already present here. How can I let it move through me? Just allow it. I have to keep that same focus because that love force is always present in us. One last thing to do to be a faith keeper for today. Don't wait for conflict to arise. Be proactive with your energy of divine love. That means purposely create it in yourself as often as possible. So many times we waste our ability to use our power of imagination. You could wake up every morning. I could wake up every morning and I could visualize who I wanted to be for the day. When I interact with people today, who do I want to be? In the morning, I see myself getting up and going out into the world and being a presence of love for others. And I imagine that everyone I meet is going to be love for me, knowing full well where that true love comes from, not from them, but within. Start your day visualizing that. You have the power to do that. You're now at that frequency. You start to attract more of that as you go out the door. When you come home at night, lay your head on the pillow. You look back over the day and go, oh, crap. Got into a conflict, kind of just took things over without you realizing it. Go back, review it, replay it differently. Imagine that this is the way it happened instead, where I was centered in love and I was able not to take it personally and I was able to remember who my true source of love is, my true provision, that they cannot take anything from me, but I can be a source of love and listening for them. And just see it happening that way instead. Clean out that harsh energy rather than go to sleep with it. And then all throughout the day, keep looking for opportunities to be kind and to look at kindness. Watch for kindness. So many times we go out expecting people to be rude. Change your radar and set it for kindness. And the more times you look for kindness, you will find kindness. Every time you see someone struggling, let that be a reminder to be kindness to them. Think about Bobby Cremo, who took the lives of people on July 4th in Highland Park. What do you wish he had received in his growing up years every day? And can I offer that to someone else today? Do I see someone who's vulnerable or struggling that I can be a presence of love for as a faith keeper of love? And the last thing I'm going to ask you to do is to try making personal contact the norm. What's your first thought when I said that? What I mean by that is less electronics, more face-to-face or on the phone. What's your thought when I ask you to do that? Yay from Sharon. Anybody else have any resistance? What does the ego say when I ask you to give more time to personal contact instead of electronic? Don?
Sometimes it tests message
Faster, my favorite word, the fastest wins. It's more about giving than getting. So are you saying it might take too much energy out of you, Bill?
What I'm saying is that when you're online, it's all about what you want to get.
Okay.
But if you see someone face to face, you have a natural urge to give to them.
Okay, so that's interesting. When you're online, it's what can I get? But when you're face to face, you're more apt to feel like what can I give? Has anybody had that experience? Anybody else want to share about what's working for you and not working for you in the personal contact area? So, especially when it comes to young people, I used to think, I'm going to be the cool aunt. I'm going to reach out to my nieces and nephews online, on Facebook, send them a text once in a while. That's how they like to live. I just decided, you know what? That is not helping them. It's certainly not doing anything for me. I'm not feeling the joy of the interaction when I just send letters out into the ether somewhere and oftentimes don't even get a response that maybe a thumbs up. Yeah. What if I picked up a phone and called them? Or what if I made more of an effort to go down to Peoria and spend time with them? Many of them just had babies. Good example or good excuse to go down there, be present with them. And I would say anybody, 13 and older, 13 to 30, could probably use a demonstration of how to have personal contact because we are losing our social skills. We are losing our social skills. And I would like to think we're evolving as a human race, but I don't think that one is evolving us. I think it's making life more difficult for our younger generations to handle life crises when they don't know how to ask for help, they don't know how to share who they really are with each other, to be authentic, to feel supported. Who do you have in your life, 13 to 30, that you could be more present to? I am a faith keeper for love, and there's enough to go around, and the flow begins with me. Will you say that? Do we have that up here on the screen somewhere? There we go. Let's say that together. I'm a faith keeper for love. There's enough to go around, and the flow begins with me. So part of our special service today is to do a longer meditation. So just so you know, I'm going to invite you to stay seated for 15 minutes. If you have an emergency, maybe now would be a good time to leave the room, but I'd really like to create space here for 15 minutes. And let's just see if we can't generate this frequency of love as we spend this time together. Let's take a deep breath and allow our eyes to close. Allow our body to relax. And imagine a beautiful place in nature. Maybe you've already been there. The weather's perfect. The colors are bright. The sky is blue. The sounds of nature are all around you. And you come upon a beautiful pool of water, perfectly still, perfectly clear. There's even a comfortable seat right along the edge of the pool. Take a seat. And allow yourself to look out across the pond, breathing in nature, feeling its peace. And as you cast your eyes across this pool, you notice a person on the other side. You know who it is. It's someone that, when you think about them, you either feel a sense of discomfort, maybe unforgiveness, or maybe it's somebody that you're worried about. And you feel concern. Just take a moment to decide who that person is. And as you feel the space of this pond between you, you recognize this isn't water. that separates us. This is a pond, a pool, filled with the energy of love. Just feel the energy of that love radiating from this pool. It's calling to your heart. It's drawing your heart out. It has a healing power. Where if I drop a thought into this pond, its ripples will expand outward and carry my intention with it. Think for a moment what you might desire for this person on the other side. If you were a faith keeper of love, what might you desire for them? Healing, forgiveness, understanding. Drop that thought into this field of love and watch the ripples begin to flow out, carrying that intention from your heart to theirs. I send my love into this pond, and its energy is carried from my heart to theirs. What does that feel like in your own heart? You notice that when the ripples move outward toward them, they also move toward you. That this field of love is carrying your intention to them, as well as to you. What does it feel like to have my own intention come back to me? What did I wish for them? How does it feel to receive that wish for myself? What I wish for others, I receive for myself. Let's send a new intention. We'll drop that intention like a pebble in a pool. An intention of acceptance. The ripples go out, carrying acceptance with them. The intention of acceptance reaches their heart. And at the same time, acceptance flows into and through my own heart for me. The ripples begin to fade away until we both rest in the stillness of pure acceptance. Take a breath. Let's drop another pebble of intention into the pool of love. A pebble of well-being. Our intention goes in and sends out the ripples of well-being. The ripples flow across and reach into their heart, carrying that energy of well-being. And the ripples begin to fade. We rest in the pure stillness of well-being. We drop another intention into the pool, an intention of love, pure, unconditional love. The ripples go out across the pond, carrying love from my heart to theirs. Feel it as they feel it. Receive love for yourself. As the ripples fade, we rest in the pure stillness of love. And we drop one more pebble into this pool, an intention of peace. I send my peace from my heart to yours. I feel the peace carried across this pond. I receive this peace for myself. We rest in the stillness of pure peace. Together we dwell as one heart in this pure energy of love, acceptance, well-being, and peace. What I know for others, I know for myself. Just a simple thought, and lives can change. We're so grateful for this pure, positive presence of spirit lifting and healing. There is only one here. This is the truth of our being. And now I let it be. Amen. Just take a moment to feel the room around you. Sense the people in the room. All is well in our world. Thank you, God. Part of what we do in our meditative service is give you a chance to ask some questions or just share comments. So let me kind of just shift the order of things first and invite you into an offering, an opportunity for you to share your love, cast your love into the pool with the gifts that you share of your tithes and love offerings, knowing that what we share with one another, we share with ourselves. We have a way for you to be able to give online if you'd like, through our website, unityinnaperville.org, or if you'd like to mail your gift to our P.O. Box, it's 9733 in Naperville, 60567. And once again, let's cast our love out into that pool with our blessing. Let's say these words together up here on the screen. Now we can say it. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am grateful. Thank you. Ushers, will you come, please? Carol, do you have a microphone? Okay. So I just want to know how this experience was for you today, this message, applying this message to real life, questions about what's going on in the world right now, like I'm going to be able to answer those, but just want you to have a chance to interact, to hear each other. This is a chance for you to have personal interaction with each other. Hopefully you online are hearing the answers and feeling more connected. So who has anything that they want to share, ask, argue with, resist? We're open to anything today. Okay, Sharon has her hand up. She needs a microphone.
Thank you. It's funny that the tech person needs the microphone. Just first of all, Kitty, thank you. This was a difficult time, and as always, you have a way to walk us through, not around or away, but through with love and eyes wide open. So thank you for that.
Thanks for walking.
Yeah, thank you. I just was especially touched today with when you talked about, you weren't afraid to talk about the subculture of feeling alienated, alone, and how this kind of ecosystem is drawing people who are feeling isolated, alienated, and disconnected. And sometimes I think we're afraid to look at that. And I think what you did today was help us say, eyes wide open, love, and to be able to understand why someone would feel, I would say, a need or drawn to that particular subculture. Mm-hmm. So, and that gives me a lot of hope instead of feeling afraid. It makes me feel, I like the idea of talking when you said, look at each other. And real quick, I just want to share that I was talking with a teacher friend this week, and happened to be Liz, and I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this real quick, but it really holds this whole thing in a way that's so beautiful. She was talking about in her school how students will wear caps or hoods or funny-looking things to just take the attention away from themselves or to hide from themselves.
Okay.
And so the idea is she was, even though the school policy was just let them be, let them do what they want, she was recognizing that there was this sense of separation with a hood or a hat. And basically the sense was she just sat down with the child and said, I want to see you. And I thought that was so beautiful. I think that's what people want. We want to matter. We want to know that we're seen and we're loved. And I just think that's so powerful. I want to see you. And to hold that in my heart with people who are feeling, alienated or alone, just to know, I want to see you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sharon. Who else has a thought about the message today? Here's one, Bill. It's coming. Turn to your right.
We live in a society that wants things instantly. You want to feel well instantly. You go see a doctor. You go online. You want it instantly. Something like this, you don't recover instantly from it. It's like a shroud that you eventually see the sunlight through, but it takes time.
Yes.
And I would just want people to realize that there's healing in progression of life.
Yes. Thank you. And isn't it important to know that that even though we want to feel better today, it is available to us. It just might take time to not become completely hopeless in situations like this. And who can I be for someone else while it's happening? Thank you. Liz, is that you?
Hi, this is Liz. So I just wanted to tell you that I don't like the part where you said, because I love texting, text. But I think it's funny because I think it's so true. And I think it's a challenge for me. So a lot of people are going to get a lot of calls. I'm just saying. So get ready.
Good deal. Make a phone call. And that means, would you be willing to answer your calls? Answer your phone, even if you don't recognize the number. Even though it's somebody like trying to sell you something, have a little conversation with them. Just make them feel good about their day. Yeah, they probably get a lot of hang-ups. So yeah, there's a chance. Anyone else? Questions, comments? Sharon in the back. Anybody else? Okay. Yeah, give us a Facebook comment.
Okay, this is from Kim Char Meredith. I sit here listening, gently weeping, trying to identify where it is coming from. I miss community, miss gathering for the sake of enjoying the company and forging deeper connection. What you have shared today has me breathing deeply, identifying what I can change and how I connect with others. I'm also reflecting on what we all can do together as a church community to connect in person and swim in this divine love.
Ooh, beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Kim Char. Rose has one. Oh, wait for Steve, okay? Steve and then Rose.
Hi, Kitty.
Hi.
So I love the thought of dropping the intention in the pond, and that the ripples don't only go out, but they come back to me. So, that's just, it's a wonderful visual when I'm stuck in my ego and that it because we know that it comes back to us, but to see it and the ripples are coming back to me as well. My intention is coming back to me. So thank you for that.
It's a win-win, people. Win-win. Thank you, Steve. And Rose had one.
Try to get through this without sobbing.
Oh, it's okay. We like sobbers.
I've just been looking at the back of your heads for like 2 years online.
Oh.
And,
Yeah.
And when she's talking about personal connection, and I don't have this community in Michigan. I have so many wonderful things there. I have an incredible lifestyle, but I don't have y'all, and how much you guys mean to me. And I just want you to know that I see you every week, and I see you on Facebook, but there's nothing like a hug.
Yeah.
How grateful I am that you have this great team that can deliver your message to our basement every week. And it really does keep us going and keep us connected. But there's nothing like being here in person. And I thank you so much.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. Yeah, just if you're wondering about coming back, just listen, because many people will say the energy in the room with other human beings is very different and healing. Cindy?
Yeah, when you were speaking about young people being particularly vulnerable, we're grandparents to a newly 8, newly 6, 5, 3, and a 2-year-old. And yesterday, our 8-year-old Olivia had gotten a sewing machine for her birthday. And I do a little bit of sewing, so I thought she really wanted to spend some time. So we spent the whole day. And it wasn't until about 3 or 4 hours into it that she goes, "Grandma, do you think I look terrible because I'm missing 7 teeth?" Because all her teeth came out at once.
Oh.
So she's got no front teeth on the top. And she's put her head down. I said, "Did somebody say something to you, honey?" And she didn't respond. And then I said, "Well, you know what? I think they're just a big dummy poo-poo head." But I said, it's those teeth have to come out so the new ones can come in. And I said, "You know what? You are so beautiful in every way." But it really struck me, particularly because these kids were apart for a year from classmates. And the little ones are really learning how to socialize again. And they need so much hugs. They need so much reassurance. And we've got, their parents are tired and they see adults. I see this, I call it the COVID feel. The energy, yet people are moving past it slowly, but you can see the burden, and then with the shooting, the heaviness. And so I think sometimes the adults, we don't have it to give, to those little ones, and I just wanted to share that because it's such a precious time in their life, and they're seeing the world through our eyes in a lot of ways, and that's not always the best.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else want to share? Paul, you got something? Facebook. Okay, let's hear from Facebook. I'm so glad you guys are chiming in online. This is how we get to know you. Thank you.
This is from Cindy Freeman.
Hi, Cindy.
She says, "Starting the day, thinking it's going to be great is easy enough to do. However, I never thought of replaying my day to see it in light instead of rehashing the way it may have played out during the day. At first I thought, but I can't change what happened. Then I heard you say, it will clear that negative energy. Thank you for that. I will try that."
Thank you, Cindy. Cindy's hiding up not hiding. She lives in Wisconsin. I don't know why I said hiding. Might feel like to you because you can't see her, but that's where she is. So thank you, Cindy. Hi, tell me your name.
Hi, I'm Kim.
Hi, Kim.
Hi. I love the message today. Thank you so much.
You're
Much
welcome.
needed, heavy heart. And I love thinking about the visualization of the pond. And I think it's a reminder that we also need to be very patient with each other when we're giving out this love, because it might be new and overwhelming. And sometimes that in itself can push people to behave in new ways.
Yes.
And I think about that with the young people, right? Like this poor young man who must have been hurting so much, that to force love and acceptance and, shower people with something that's new can be scary. And so I know Liz is going to start calling y'all, but if you need to just start with a text message and tell someone, hey, I'm just going to start texting you sometime, and then even giving them a warning of, hey, next week, is it okay if I call you? I think respecting the pace that people need to be comfortable with all this is so special, and I think important, and honors everyone's unique journey. So.
Yeah. Are you getting that? Do you understand that? How that might be so new to some people that just the shock of it could be resistant to it. So here's the cool thing. We all have the divine within us, and if your intention is to love, just spend some time in your own energy of love for a while to just ask Spirit what's the highest and best for this conversation, and let it be your guide. Be sensitive to what you're standing in front of. Thank you for that. Yeah. Anyone else? Carol?
I would like to make an admission. of a transgression.
Oh, that's so funny.
I had a lot of emotions this week too, and had a lot of feelings and a lot of problems at work where I'm a salesperson, and if people have problems, they like to act out. So I took a lot of things and where I was really taking a lot of abuse from people who needed things, and I understand that. And I was trying to give back to them kindness. Well, I was at the grocery store yesterday, and this older gentleman, he was probably in his 80s. We didn't see him. I was talking to Joan about what we were having for dinner, and he said, "Could you get out of my way?" really loud. And I didn't know where he came from, you know. And without thinking, I didn't elevate my energy, but I elevated my voice. And I said, "I didn't see you there. Forgive me." And then we moved. Well, that's so unlike me. I don't know if you have any idea. I do not ever raise my voice to people. Well, thank you, Kitty, because I had a chance to sit here and think, how could I have handled that differently? Now, I don't think I really had a choice in the moment because it was so fast.
Yeah.
But you know what? That man, he's carrying his issues and his grief and his problems. And so obviously I could have said, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know you were there," and just moved. So I'm going to keep my heart open that is how I will respond next time. Thank
There
you.
you go. There
Thank
you go. Thank you for your open heart, Carol.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Sharon, over here, way over on this side.
We in Unity, of course, support the idea of the law of attraction, which you exemplified by the ripple effect. Okay, what we put out there, we draw to us. Last night, I officiated for a 50th wedding anniversary renewal of vows, which was beautiful, of course. I mean, the loving couple and everything. This morning, we're at Starbucks, and I'm waiting for the order, so I sit down at the counter there because they have this little counter area. And this woman just walked up to me, and I looked up at her, and I thought, well, I'm not in the way, or, you know, and I just looked up, and I nodded. And she looked down at me, and she said, "How's your day going?" And I looked up at her, and I didn't hesitate, and I said, "Wonderful. How is yours?" Well, from that point on, we had a little interaction. It was beautiful. And then she and the young man that was with her said, "Thank you. I needed this," because, again, we covered things that were going on in the country.
Yes.
Everywhere and that. And having, as we in Unity say, the high watch, okay? And always bringing that light where the darkness is. And this moment, and I, as my mentor, Reverend Hillis Green says, you're always put where you belong.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful moment.
Beautiful.
So I just had to share that.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. Yeah. So this is what we mean by personal contact. Just notice how you felt about hearing about other people's stories or their desires or what's going on for them in their own lives. How you heard from people online that you couldn't see, and how maybe your heart was reaching out to them in a way that was different than the ones you were reaching out to here in this room. But always your heart is reaching. It's always desiring if we will let it have its way. And people will feel that energy as those ripples go out to the point where we do know our oneness. There is less need to get angry or pick up a gun because we're starting to make contact normal. That's part of being a faith keeper for divine love. So thank you for making time for this today. I know we went a little bit longer than usual. Who thought? I thought for sure we'd be done way early. Somehow I got a little chatty. But thank you for that. And I'm just going to give you a couple announcements really quickly up here on the screen. This is a chance for you to love in a different way. We're doing our service project for grandparents raising grandchildren, and we're inviting you to help us support 26 children with backpacks. That might mean that everyone in this room brings a backpack next week, sometime between now and the end of July. And there's different ages, so we need different sizes. There's a list out there not only for backpacks, but all the school supplies we need to gather between now and the end of the month. So please grab a list before you leave today and think about doing that for us. We have till July 31st to bring in your supplies on Sundays. And if you're watching online, yes, we need you to come in and drop them off. But you can also look for that list on our website at unityinnaperville.org. And one other quick reminder that if you want to be part of the grief support group or already are, we shifted our date, so we're meeting tomorrow night, July 11th, online, and the access to that is on our event calendar at unityinnaperville.org. So, here's our closing affirmation for today, up here on the screen. Why, look, it looks very familiar, doesn't it? Let's just put our hand on our heart and say this together. I am a faith keeper for divine love. There is enough to go around, and the flow begins with me. I'm going to ask you to do one more thing. Remember in the day before COVID, when at the end of the service I asked you to turn to someone you didn't know and introduce yourself? Well, welcome back. It's your chance to introduce yourself to someone. Share one thing that you thought about the service, or why you come to Unity, or what you're looking forward to this week. I don't care what it is. And you don't have to shake hands or hugs. Matter of fact, let's make that a rule. No shaking hands, no hugs today. Just stand a comfortable distance apart, share your name and something wonderful about yourself, and trust me, you all have something wonderful to share about yourself. Love you guys so much. Thanks for this beautiful energy today. See you next time. Love you guys. Thanks for being with us.
I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power, over the mountains. I send my power, over the sea. I send my power, into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send peace over the mountains. I send peace over the sea. I send peace into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power, over the mountains. I send my power, over the sea. I send my power, into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me, and it returns to me, and it returns to me. It returns to me.